In this lesson, we are going to be finding percents. So let's review what we did with changing a percent to a decimal, or a decimal into a percent. So remember that we moved the decimal 2 places to the right and we add the percent sign. Move the decimal 2 places to the right and we add the percent sign. Move the decimal 2 places to the right and we add the percent sign. So now let's work with the percent formula. Remember that with the percent formula, its part to a whole is percent over 100. Sometimes we need to simplify first, because what would we multiply times 15 to get 100? That would be really difficult to do. So let's simplify by dividing these both by 3. So we get 3 over 5 equals y over 100. Now it's easier for us to know that 5 times 20 is 100. So 3 times 20 would be 60. And it would be 60%. Same thing on this next one. We want to divide both of these by 4. So we'll get 4 over 10 is equal to y over 100. We could have also simplified by 8 as well, and we would get the same answer. I know that 10 times 10 is 100, so 4 times 10 is equal to 40, so that would be 40%. In the next example, if we divide both of these by 3, we have 6 over 10 is equal to y over 100. And then we can multiply by 10 and multiply by 10. And so we know that it's 60%. In the next example, if we divide these both by 9, so we'd have 2 over 5 is equal to y over 100. And then we know that 5 times 20 is equal to 100. So 2 times 20 would be 40, or 40%. So now we want to calculate these word problems using that percent formula. So remember that part over whole equals percent over 100. So part 7 out of the whole of 10 equals percent over 100. And when we use the word percent, since we don't know it and we're calculating that, we can put a variable. So what did we multiply times 10 to get 100 would be 10, and so 7 times 10 would be 70%. Part to whole would be 38 over 50 equals percent over 100. I would multiply 50 times 2, and so I multiply 38 times 2, and that's going to be 76%. In the next example, it says Caitlin worked 7 months out of the year. What percent did she work? 7 months out of a year. So she worked 7 out of 12 months equals percent over 100. So this one's a little bit more difficult to do. We can't really use the vertical method or the horizontal method. So this time we're going to do our cross multiply. So 7 times 100 is 700 equals 12x. And we haven't learned how to solve an equation yet, but we want to divide both sides by 12 to figure out what percent that would be. We'll leave that one for now, and we'll come back when we know how to solve our equations at a different point. There are 28 students in the class, and 16 of them are males. What percent are males? Part to whole would be 16 out of 28, and that equals percent over 100. So we can simplify this if we wanted to figure out what we would multiply by. And so 14, divide by 4 to simplify. So we're going to get 4 out of 7. So 4 out of 7 equals percent over 100. And since we don't know what we multiply by, this would be another example of cross multiplying. We'd have 400 is equal to 7x, and then we'd have to divide by 7, and x would equal that percent. We'll come back to that in a minute, and we'll use our calculator. Okay, percent proportions to use. All right, so this time we have the change over the original number is equal to percent over 100. So always we know the 100, and we put the percent over that. And we don't know the change, but we know the total is 120. So if we simplify, we could divide both of these by 10, which would give us 3 over 10. Then we would multiply this one by 12. So we could multiply this one by 12, and we would get 36. 12 times 3 is 36. Next one. 12 is what percent of 40? 12 over 40. We don't know the percent, and it's over 100. If we simplify and divide these both by 4, we would get 3 over 10 equals x over 100. And we would multiply this by 10. So we multiply the top by 10, and we get 30%. $15 is 50% of what number? We know the part, but we don't know the whole, and we know the percent out of 100. So on this one, we're going to use the vertical example, which knew we multiplied by 2. So when we multiply by 2, x is going to equal 30. So it's 15 out of 30 is 50%. What is 25% of 100? 25 over 100. And what number out of 100 is 25 over 100? Well, that seems pretty simple. If this is the same, then this should be the same. So that would be 25. 10% out of 100, 10% of 240 is what number? So we don't know the part, we know the whole. So if we want to go this way, we know that we divided by 10. So we can go this way and divide by 10. So 240 divided by 10 would be 24. 54 is what percent of 62? We don't know the percent. So on this one, oops, it's 162, sorry. So on this one, if we used our calculator, 54, I think it goes in there 3 times. 54 times 3, yes, it does. So divide by 54 on both of these. So we have 1 out of 3. So we took, if we want to do this, we would divide by 3, and we would divide by 3. 100 divided by 3 is 33.3 repeating percent. Now it is your turn to try these examples.